Welcome to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. I'm your host, Shannon Ables. And whether you're listening on your commute, exercising, working in the garden, or sitting down with a hot cup of tea or a cafe au lait, thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. Welcome to the 235th episode of the Simple Sophisticate. Today we're going to talk about dinner parties because a lot of us are starting to have some as the holidays are kicking into full gear. But this is also a topic that we can discuss year round whenever we want to have dinner parties. And it stems from a party that I recently had at my own house. And upon reflection, there were some things that I learned and there were some things that were confirmed. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to share these because the key with hosting a dinner party is I think often we get not intimidated, but we think, oh, it's a lot of work. Oh, I'm not prepared. Oh, I have to do all this. But what I've found over the years of having dinner parties is that with just a few little updates and additions to whether it's my kitchen tableware or my tablecloths, my preparations for my linens, I can actually have a dinner party at the last minute, so long as I have these things in place and I have the time and my guests are available. So I thought I'd share these because I think as we fine-tune the process, we'll be more inclined to want to have a dinner party because it can be a lot of fun. And it's relaxing, and especially for your guests, it's a way to let them come and just enjoy your company with the rest of the guest company, as well as some good food. I know I enjoy going to dinner parties because it means I don't have to cook, even though I love it. It's wonderful to try someone else's food, to enjoy their presentation, and to just enjoy who they might invite because you get to meet new people as well. So that's what we're talking about today. But before I get to that, today's petit plaisir is actually a comfort that I love and have loved for 15 years. And with the Cyber Monday sales going on today, if you're listening on the first day this episode goes live, I guess you could say, there's an awesome discount on this particular item that I want to share with you. So that's going to be discussed at the end of today's episode. But let's get into today's topic. I'm going to talk about 10 ideas gleaned and confirmed from my last dinner party. I want to begin with a quote from Madeline Lingle. She states, "There is nothing that makes me happier than sitting around the dinner table and talking until the candles are burnt down." Ah, yes, I love the end of the dinner party when everything's been enjoyed. Conversation is kind of coming to an end and you're all just kind of melting. That tablescape moment, it's not about the preparation or planning the perfect tablescape. It's just a moment that always makes me smile. And I often will get my camera out at the end of it just because I want to remember that moment because it wasn't planned. It was just the beautiful punctuation mark of the end. So dinner parties, as I said, is our topic of the week. And I would love to ask the question of what comes to mind to anyone when the phrase dinner party is expressed, because depending on so many different factors, our culture, our familial experience, the region of the country in which we live and that we live in now, where were we when those particular dinner parties happened and what was our experience, positive, negative, and so many other elements come into play when we think of what a dinner party is. So we're all going to come at this a little bit differently, and we'll have a perception that is unique to our experience. Now, having grown up in a household in which my mother would carefully plan the day with regards to preparation and pleasurably set the table, all the while knowing exactly when certain dishes would be made, which ones would be put in the oven, I saw through her a very positive experience. It was pleasurable to her. She had it down. She would sometimes ask for help, but usually she did it on her own. I would watch her. I would help when I could. My dad was doing his own thing. He was usually prepping the house, prepping the outside, things along those lines, especially if it's in the wintertime and the roads need to be plowed, or if it was in the summertime and the yard needed to be mowed. So they each had their roles. But I always saw it as a very positive experience, an opportunity to celebrate, to come together for whatever the reason was. And my dad also would be the host, or still is the host, while my mom, she would get all the food ready and she would get the house ready. But by that point, she hadn't gotten herself ready. And so everything would be good to go. But she needed to step into her bathroom and get ready, and my dad would hold down the fort. So when the guests arrived, he would entertain them with the drinks and the appetizers, and she would make her entrance. And it was never meant to be grand or special, but, and we all knew how much work she had done, and so we would get excited for her to come because that means that the dinner, well, she's still doing this because she's still having dinner parties, but I just thinking back to those, it was that moment when mom arrived, then the dinner party really began. But I loved that kind of building up. Now, since then, I have enjoyed meals with my mentor, for example, in Eugene, Oregon. She knows how to host a dinner party as well. She has her courses, her appetizers and cocktails would be enjoyed in the living room next to the crackling fire if it was in the wintertime or the fall. And the second and main course was served in the dining room, followed by the dessert. And then often we make our way back to the living room as we unwound with a cup of hot tea or espresso and coffee. And these evenings would go on for hours, and I love them because I often, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, you get to meet people you never have come across before. But at the same time, maybe it's people you do know, but you've never had the time to have a really thoughtful conversation with them. And then also with my travels to France, I've only, again, had this idea confirmed of the joy of a dinner party that pays no mind to time. And while often the idea of courses is for by some perceived as pretentious, it doesn't have to be. I mean, you can have courses, whether it's a casual meal or a higher end experience, and I've enjoyed both. And the idea for having courses, there's so many benefits to this, as I share in a detailed post a few years ago, but ultimately it's creating more moments to savor. You're going to slow down and enjoy the food, but it also is going to save your waistline because you're paying attention to whether or not you're full or not. You're not speeding through it. And I like that approach. And it also, it allows more time to converse. It spreads out everything again, punctuating each course. They're not all mixed together. And it's kind of like telling a story if you want to with regards to the season, or maybe you've come back from a trip and you're sharing what you've learned with your friends and family about that trip. And so each of them is kind of its mini little story, short story, I guess you could say. Now, everyone's approach to dinner parties will be different, but choosing to host a dinner party is something I have always enjoyed doing, although I haven't done as much of it as since I've been in Bend as of late, which is why I decided to host one just this past weekend, the weekend before Thanksgiving, with a small group of friends and colleagues. I basically just said, you know what? Your house isn't perfect as far as it isn't everything that you used to have. It doesn't have a huge dining room table that you used to have. You don't have all the nice chairs. You don't have all the different things that you think you should have. But I also said, you know what, that's what we have to get through. We can't just have everything be right, because then we're worrying about the aesthetics, and really what dinner parties are about are bringing people together, connecting, conversing, enjoying, and sharing. And so I brought in an extra table and I covered them both with tablecloths, and you wouldn't have known the difference. Again, I reminded myself that the impetus to having a dinner party is to share good food with people you enjoy being with or want to either get to know further, and offer moments that are a stepping away from their busy lives, enabling them to relax and enjoy the time together without any expectation. I think that's what I love about going to dinner parties, is especially when the host says, no, don't bring anything. And of course, I'm always going to bring something, but I'm not going to bring something expecting it to be served. I'm going to bring something very simple, something they can enjoy later, maybe a box of chocolates, yes, maybe a bottle of wine, but something they can enjoy later. But when they say don't bring anything, I love that, because that's why I like having a dinner party. I want them to not have to worry about cooking. I don't want them to have to worry about planning. I want them to come and relax, because as I've talked with different people about this, part of making a meal, it takes planning and work, and it's somewhat exhausting. And if you can take that off of someone's plate because you love cooking, because you love sharing food with people, that's the gift you're giving them. And their gift, really, what they can bring is just themselves. You've invited them because you want to be with them. And if they say yes, that's an awesome gift. At least for me, it's an awesome gift. Anyway, so It has been my experience hosting dinner parties over the years, here in the States anyway, that some people are quite happy to enjoy a meal that they don't have to cook. Others, having perhaps never had meals with courses or not too many of them, are curiously surprised about the multiple dishes that keep coming out of the kitchen, but whether the food is exactly as I had hoped or not. You know how you do sometimes, at least for me, you overcook the salmon a little bit because you're chatting with one of your guests. It's a great conversation. It is more important, and I always remind myself of this because sometimes I do forget it because I want the food to be the best. It's the time that we have together that yields conversations and connections that don't always happen in our brief interactions during our days, even if we've seen them, at work, or we see them in our neighborhood, or we see them as friends. These moments of dinner parties give us the time to enjoy each other's company, and food is the binder, so to speak. Food is the binder. So let's get into this list of 10 things that I learned that I needed to improve, or I could add and would make it that much more smooth, or I was confirmed that, yep, that works really well. Let's get into this. Number 1, begin with something bubbly to give your guests upon their arrival. Whether you have a preference for champagne or cava from Spain or Prosecco from Italy or sparkling wine of any sort, or sparkling non-alcoholic beverages, or maybe even a special bubbly cocktail, have it prepped and ready for guests as soon as they take off their coats and put their clutches down so they can have something to hold in their hands. And this ultimately just tends to relax people a little bit more, whether they are sipping it or not. The goal is to bring ease and let them know that they are welcomed. And bubbles can't help but make people smile, I've found. So have some sort of bubbles on hand to give to your guests when they arrive. That's number 1. Number 2, if guests ask what they can bring, have a simple idea that is inexpensive and helpful to you as well, or simply say, your presence is enough. While as a host or hostess, I just talked about this at the beginning of the episode, we don't expect our guests to bring anything but themselves and their witty repartee, if that's their gift. But we are also told as guests to ask. So if a guest asks, either have an idea of what you want or reassure them that indeed you truly just want them to come, relax, and enjoy. And that will ease everybody's mind. So that's number 2. Number 3 is to order a few more wine glasses than you have guests. Now, this usually will happen maybe years or months before you even think about having a dinner party. But if you're like me, you have broken a few wine glasses in your time, whether you're cleaning them or maybe it's in the middle of the dinner and they get knocked around. Just having an extra 1 or 2 on the shelf is a great idea. So even if you have small dinner parties like myself, between 4 or 6, try to have 8, so 2 extra on hand. Maybe an extra guest will show up and you already have 6 wine glasses, but you have a 7th guest that's coming and you now have that extra wine glass and you have an extra one to break just in case. Or maybe you just simply realized the day before or the night before, I have done this. Oh my gosh, I did break that one glass. I only have and you list the number 1 fewer than what you're going to be having at your dinner party. So that's just always a very good rule of thumb. Now I'm going to share a link with you guys. Crate and Barrel is having a great online sale for wine glasses, and so is Sur La Table. And those are the 2 places I get my wine glasses from. In fact, I think the sale for Crate and Barrel for just the all-purpose, very nice wine glass is $4. You can't really beat that if that's the size and style you want. So I'll put a link on the show notes for that. So that's number 3. Number 4, so long as you have a tablecloth, it really doesn't matter what table is beneath it, so long as you have the tablecloths. That's the key. So as I mentioned at the top of this episode, I had 2 tables under my tablecloths for my last dinner party because I actually sold my large dining room table from where I moved before in Eastern Oregon because it was older and I was afraid it would break on the move here, and it was fit to that style of house. And so someone else is enjoying that beautiful oak table that I have pictures of on the show notes if you want to check it out. And I am still on the hunt for a large pedestal wood table. Someday I will find it. But an easy way to unify is I love linen tablecloths, whether it's white or whether it's taupe, but just any color that suits your particular aesthetic. Linen tablecloths are versatile. Number 1, they come when you wash them, they get even softer. But number two, they're not as expensive. And I've actually found a few on H&M of all places. I actually purchased a handful for other projects in my house that I'll share with you later. But they're less expensive right now because they're on sale for the Cyber Monday extravaganza. And so I've linked to them in my show notes, but they have white, navy, they have some stripes, I think, taupe. There's a handful of natural shades. And so if you're interested in them, long oblong ones, extra long oblong and regular oblong, be sure to check them out because that's a simple way to unify whatever table is underneath and create a signature presentation that is inviting to your guests. So that's number 4. Number 5 is buy plates in sets of 6 to 8 whenever and wherever you buy them. This is something I have on hand, but I'm always keeping an eye out for different colors and designs. Right now, I really gravitate only to white or clear. It allows the food to really pop off the plate. But one of the many details that caught my attention while I was dining for lunch each day during my week of cooking classes with Patricia Wells was that there was always matching plates for every course, but that didn't mean that each course matched the next or the previous course. And I love that because that enables you to go out and find just those perfect 6 or 8 sets of plates or bowls, whatever you're looking for, and not feel that, oh, shoot, I don't have the matching whatever that needs to go with it. You don't need it. So if you're at a secondhand shop, a brocante, or you're shopping sales at Crate and Barrel online or Sur La Table this next month, and you find a set that just speaks to you and it works really well with your decor, get it. Just make sure you have 6 to 8, whatever your number is, and that will be a wonderful, beautiful course for whatever you're serving on it. Having enough plates for each course makes it easier on you, the host, as you're not cleaning during the meal, but it also enables you to have courses. I think part of the reason some people don't have courses, I know this was my thing for a while, is I didn't have enough plates for multiple courses. So this is a way to do that. And often if you find them at consignment or secondhand, you can get them a lot cheaper. Now I have 5 more ideas for a seamlessly effortless dinner party. And I will share those in a minute, but I first want to introduce you to today's sponsors. HelloFresh is a meal kit delivery service that shops, plans, and delivers step-by-step recipes and pre-measured ingredients so you can just cook, eat, and enjoy. Speaking of a dinner party, who knows? Maybe this is an idea for a very small dinner party. There are plans to choose from: classic, veggie, or family. I have chosen the classic. And during those weeks that are especially busy, I look forward to the HelloFresh delivery, knowing my dinner just got that much easier and the meals can be made in 30 minutes or less. All ingredients come pre-measured in handy labeled meal kits, so you know which ingredients go with which recipe. Delivered right to your door in recyclable, insulated packaging. Spend less time meal planning and grocery shopping each week and get that time back to do more of what you love. Get delicious, filling meals delivered right to your door every week for less than $10 per serving and free shipping. I have enjoyed using HelloFresh because what I get out of it is new ideas for making different sauces with different ingredients that I may not have picked up at the store on my own, which is fantastic. And sometimes I even take their recipe, and because I feel more confident in the kitchen with a particular approach, I will add what also I have in my fridge, and it just becomes a new learning experience. And my know-how, I'm becoming more confident in the kitchen with their tips and tricks that they share. As a Simple Sophisticate listener, you will receive a total of $60 off. That's $20 off your first 3 boxes when you visit HelloFresh.com/Sophisticate60 and enter the promo code Sophisticate60. Again, that's HelloFresh.com/Sophisticate60 and enter the promo code Sophisticate60 for a total of $60 off, which is $20 off your first 3 boxes. That's HelloFresh.com/Sophisticate60. For years, the co-founders of Holly and Tanager searched for the perfect backpack tote to carry their items in an organized manner. And that's when they designed the professional backpack tote to live up to the needs of the on-the-go, in-the-know, jet-setting, trend-setting, all-around extraordinary woman. Holly and Tanager handbags were born to keep up with your busy schedule while taking organization to the next level. Without sacrificing fashion for function, their timeless designs display a bold desire to accommodate a woman's lifestyle effortlessly day after day. day. Each item is made by hand with Italian and Bolivian leather that gets even better with age. They carefully select premium hardware that maneuvers with ease and will never chip. Now, along with a professional backpack, they also have a commuter tote, which handles all of your must-have items and then some, a convertible belt bag, which doubles as a clutch for an effortless transition from day to night, the Champion wallet, which includes zippered interior pockets, card holder pockets, an ID pocket, and an interior sleeve big enough to hold your smartphone while doubling as a clutch. And my favorite bag that they have is one of their crossbody clutches, the Explorer. It holds your everyday essentials with a versatile style and even doubles as a clutch. Holly and Tanager offers other extraordinary everyday handbags you don't see every day on their website. And for Simple Sophisticate listeners, you'll receive 15% off your first order. Visit hollyandtanager.com/simple and use code SIMPLE at the checkout for that 15% off. That's Holly and Tanager, HOLLYANDTANAGER.com/simple, and use promo code SIMPLE at checkout. And now let's get back into the remaining 5 ways to have a seamless and effortless dinner party. Number 6, we just talked about in number 5 how having a set of 6 to 8 plates is a very good idea. The same thing goes for placemats. Ditto, I guess I could say. While you may never know where or when you will find placemats that catch your eye, having them at the ready in your linen closet is a great idea to again create an inviting dining table. I found a few on SD that I share on today's show notes that you also might gravitate towards. Some are the rattan circular placemats, but others are linen square. Some of them are French-inspired tablecloths. Some of them have stripes, red, blue, different things like that. But if you are curious about those, they're fairly priced. Some are a little bit more than others, but they're beautiful. And again, just knowing what you have, knowing that you have placemats for every season and every tablecloth idea that you may come up with eases your mind too, because we want to present our food to people. We want them to enjoy the table setting, and placemats are a simple way to do that. So that's number 6. Have enough placemats for 6 to 8 people. Number 7, simply put, I love serving the meal in courses. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, I gravitate towards serving courses when I invite guests to dinner. If it's a cocktail party or a casual gathering, buffet style is obviously a better fit. But when it's a dinner, as I shared in a detailed post I wrote a handful of years ago, I love serving courses. Why? There's more time with guests, more time to enjoy the food, and more time to just savor the simple pleasures of food, conviviality, and life. So check out and consider serving your meal in courses, whether it's 3 courses or 5 courses or anything in between or beyond for that matter. I think there's something special about that. And there just, for me, has always been a feeling of feeling special when I'm eating courses. And so I want my guests to feel special too. Number 8, make sure to have something for those who don't drink alcohol. Now, I have made this mistake before, and since I don't drink much more than water, tea, or orange juice in my house on a daily basis, I have found myself in a pinch for those rare guests who don't drink. Whether it's a sparkling apple cider or sparkling water, have something bubbly and new for all of your guests to enjoy from the beginning of the evening to the wee hours of the night, whether they drink alcohol or not. So that's number 8. Number 9 is add a natural touch to the powder room that your guests will be using. Even if they never go into it, just have it ready. Just a simple bud vase with a freshly cut bloom is all that is needed, but it freshens up and brightens that room, letting your guests know that they are indeed in the correct bathroom, because often the guests we have never been to our house. So it's just an idea to create an inviting space, and adding a candle as well is something I do also. Number 10 is have a supply of extra comfortable folding chairs when necessary. Now, I adore my tufted linen upholstered chairs that I picked up many years ago from Reformation. Many readers saw these chairs for the first time back in 2014, and I'll provide a link to that particular post. but I do only have 4 of them, and I'm not in the budget space to purchase 2 or 4 more. And maybe that'll happen someday, but maybe I don't need to, because the reality is all I really need on an everyday basis are 4 at the most. And so having nice, comfortable folding chairs that can be easily stored is a good idea for those of us who live in a smaller home and don't have a grand dining room to put all the chairs around on an everyday basis. My mom actually was very helpful on this front. She helped me find a few very nice folding chairs that fit with my particular decor aesthetic, and they're very comfortable as well as very sturdy. I've included a few links to check a handful of these out. But again, the folding concept is key because you have to store them somewhere. But at the same time, you don't want that to be a deal breaker when you want to invite 6, 8, maybe even 10 people to come join you for a dinner party. So that's number 10. Now, choosing to have a dinner party is often something to plan ahead, as we want to let our guests know so that they can make available that particular date, but it doesn't always have to be planned ahead. If you are ready with these 10 tips that I just shared, you can call people around for a wonderful meal in a matter of days, as your home is ready and so are you. Simply add trusted, delicious food and the evening will be quite a treat for all, host and or hostess included. Now, I've included 4 or 5 additional episodes or posts that deal or talk about this idea of dinner parties, specifically one on dining al fresco, one just overall having a dinner party and really how to organize it, a detailed post on that. I've also included my interview with Sharon Santoni when she joined me a couple years ago, and she was talking about, because it had to do with her most recent book, she was talking about how her dinner parties usually go at her house. And having experienced 3 dinner parties with her since then during my trip to France this last summer, I can attest she is an effortless hostess and her food is delicious and you feel completely at ease and you forget about time as it goes on and you don't really want it to end, but at the same time you're tired and you're full and it's midnight and you've been there since 6 or 7. And it's just the most memorable experience. So I encourage you to listen to our conversation while we talk about a lot of things. We also talk about dinner parties and having hosts and people around at our homes. And I think you might glean a lot of inspiration from her as well. So the show notes for all of these links are at thesimplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast 235. And I'll be right back with this week's Petit Plaisir. This week's Petit Plaisir is a robe. And I know you're thinking, what? How is that a simple pleasure? But let me tell you, when the weather gets cold, you want to be warm in the mornings when you go out to get the paper, when you're getting your coffee, your tea to start the day, and even in the evenings as you're getting ready for bed. But you also want to look nice. And about 15 or 16 years ago, when I was living in Portland, I was actually living on Northwest 23rd Avenue. And I kid you not, on the same block that I lived, there was this home store, and they had robes in there. And at this time, I mean, there wasn't internet like there is now. There wasn't internet like there was now. And I just remember popping in there. I'd never heard of this particular brand, but I put on this robe, or I felt it, and then I put it on. And it was so soft. I couldn't get over how soft it was. Well, what it was simply a nice fleece. And it was a little bit of an investment for me at the time with my budget at that point. And I didn't get it immediately. I thought about it, and the shop was always right there around the corner from my apartment. Eventually, I did end up getting this robe, and I kid you not, I've been wearing it for 15 years, and it is still just as soft. It is so comfortable, and it's a robe from Pine Cone Hill, and they offer all sorts of different textiles for their robes. They have linen robes, they have cotton robes, and then they have the fleece robes. And I recently just got my second robe for them because they're having a sale on these robes. They're originally $94, but you can get 25% off and free shipping for all of anything on their site. So the robes are obviously included in that. And the robes come in all these different beautiful colors, in short robes as well as long robes. And again, if you're just wanting that warmth, but also some really beautiful, simple, classic robes, you will not be disappointed. This robe just keeps me warm. Oh my goodness. It gets chilly here in Bend, and it gets chilly where I used to live in the past as well. And there's just something very cozy about a warm, comfortable robe. And I can attest it will last a very, very long time. So that link to Pinecone Hill Cozy Fleece cozy fleece robes. They also have cotton and linen robes is on the show notes, the simplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast 235. And I have the promo code right there on the show notes for you as well to save that 25%. And that sale is going on today, Cyber Monday. So be sure to pop over there if you're picking one up for yourself or a gift for someone else. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Petit Plaisir, where each week ideas are shared to make the everyday all the more enjoyable. Tune in at the end of each Monday's podcast where I'll recommend a book, a film, or a recipe, anything that has a simple pleasure to satiate your sophisticated taste. All right. Now, before I wrap up today, I want to send out a few thank yous and share a review for the book, as well as before I get to the book review, I want to share a review for the Simply Luxurious Kitchen cooking show. Now, we just wrapped up our first season at the end of this October. The second season will kick off in September 2019, but it's there for you to watch or view either on the blog or on YouTube. And if you haven't tuned in yet, I thought I'd share with you a review that was recently submitted by Ashley Gaver. She wrote, "Superb. I've been listening to Shannon's podcast for years now. I was so excited to dig into her new show, and it's been everything I expected. Intelligent, entertaining, and done with excellence. It's so enjoyable to watch someone who really loves the food she is preparing. If you're a foodie with a love of France, you'll want to be sure to watch." So thank you, Ashley, for sharing your thoughts and your experience on our new venture into the cooking show, which has been so much fun, and I cannot wait for the second season. Now, the review I'd like to share with you guys is actually from a librarian who reviewed this book and is going to be putting it on their shelves here in the United States. And this is from Megan on Goodreads. And she wrote, "We are always on the lookout for new self-help or even books about straight happiness, and living the simply luxurious life definitely caught my attention when searching for those books. People dream to live the life of luxury, but our mindsets are programmed to live a stressful life because of all the drama and workload that piles up in our everyday life. This book taught me that the only person letting the workload pile up is you. If all the tasks on your to-do list were completed right when they are assigned, then goodbye stress and hello luxury." We will definitely consider this title for our self-help section at our library. This is why we gave this book 5 stars. So thank you, Megan, for reading the book and sharing your thoughts and why you enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed reading the book, and I know some of you are still savoring it with a glass of port in the evening or coffee and tea in the morning, as some of you have commented on Instagram or on the blog, please do share when you're finished, whenever that is. I'm sharing reviews to the end of the year here on the podcast to give listeners an idea of what they're going to find when they pick it up. All right, guys, I hope you had a wonderful start to the holiday season this last week, unofficially with Thanksgiving, for those of us who celebrated Thanksgiving, and for everyone around the world. The last thing I want to mention is on Sunday. So this coming Sunday, December 2nd, the Simply Luxurious Life Holiday Gift Guide is going to be posted on the blog. So that's Sunday, December 2nd, the Simply Luxurious Life Holiday Gift Guide. Be sure to check it out. I have some great finds for you guys. Until next time, have a wonderful week. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. For more ideas and inspiration throughout the week, visit the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com, or pick up my new book, Living the Simply Luxurious Life, Making Your Everydays Extraordinary and Discovering Your Best Self. You can also pick up my first book, Choosing the Simply Luxurious Life, A Modern Woman's Guide, which is available now in paperback, ebook, and audio versions on Amazon, Audible, and iTunes, or wherever books are sold. To stay caught up on the most recent episodes of the podcast, blog posts, my new cooking show, and receive exclusive news as well as an extra dose of inspiration to jumpstart your weekend, subscribe to the Simply Luxurious Life's weekly newsletter, which arrives in your inbox each Friday to enjoy with a hot cup of tea or a morning cup of coffee. Until next Monday, I'm your host, Shannon Ables. Bonne journée!